This is the Parajet throttle. A quick tour around this one. We've got obviously the strap, stop button if you have an electric start paramotor, the start button, you've got the throttle trigger itself, and you've got the cruise control, which as you turn it locks that trigger, stops it moving. Now the reason why I'm going to change my throttle is because my old throttle operated with these two fingers, and that's what I've become used to. This one operates with these two, which I find a little bit uncomfortable. The other thing I don't particularly like about this throttle, just on first impressions, although I'm sure if I stuck with it I'll probably get used to it, is that I find those corners are very, very square and not particularly comfortable to hold. I struggle to find a comfortable hand position. So I am going to swap this throttle for this one. Now, the major difference between the Parajet throttle and this one is that this one can operate with the two fingers that I'm used to operating a throttle with. I can also operate it that way up depending on how I hold it and how tightly I strap that onto my finger. This one's not got an electric start button, it's just got a stop button on the top. And you can see I fitted the tach onto this one. So what we will dive into now is how I fitted the tach and how I fitted the throttle onto the paramotor. What I wanted to do was try and take this cable, go into this braiding, run the cable internally, and then come out of here. Having had a look at that, this braiding is really tough and tight fitting, so that is not going to work at all. So I'm going to go with the old time-honoured wrap it around down the length of the cable, which means really my mounting options for this come to either taking this apart and trying to get a couple of screws into there, which I'd like to do. I can double-sided tape it onto there, or I could possibly have a look at zip tying it just somewhere down the cable there, which I don't really like the look of, it has to be said. I'd rather have it mounted onto here if I had my choice. You can see there is not a lot of room in there. This was the plate that I was planning to put a couple of holes in and screw that into, but the drama we have is that the throttle, the handpiece, comes all the way around and actually is guided on there. So that is a non-starter. Right, so that's the throttle back together and put to one side now. Just concentrating on the hour meter for a couple of seconds. So I just want to have a look at this cable length. There's absolutely tons on there. That is a good meter of cable. So the tach comes with some 3M VHB tape, which is very high bond tape, so that is actually pretty decent stuff. It also comes with two little blanking plates that cover the screw holes, so I'm going to pop them in now because clearly that is not going to get screwed onto anything. There's quite a decent length of excess cable there. So what I really want to be doing is either putting some tape on there or possibly zip ties. I really don't like the idea of zip ties though, because I don't like the little knobbly bits that stick out and catch on everything. So in fact I'm going to try one more thing. I've got a massive bag of mixed paraglider lines that I took off an old ring a few years ago. I kept them because they're always useful things to have for tethers and various bits like that. What I've done is I've started tying down the length of the cable. I've got no idea where I got that idea from. I've seen it somewhere in the past, but what it does is it allows you to bend the thing around, go to all sorts of angles, and you don't end up with little loops of cable coming out of here. I've now got the tach attached. We've got our cabling sorted out. We go in with our two original zip ties. Everything's zip tied together along there. Coming through the routing of the cable, I can get both ends of the travel stop. Spring is good, the throttle comes back nicely. And then up to the top. So we have the throttle neck coming in there, earth point nice and tight.
I've put some heat shrink around the bullet connector, 2 pieces on that one just to give it some extra protection, and then I've just run the tach cable up and looped it around there a couple of times. What I need to do with that one before I start the engine up is just see how many turns that needs around it and cut off any excess, and possibly put a bit of heat shrink or a bit of tape around that just to neaten it up. But that is us for today, I think. Good day.